The other big story which is still going on, of course, is the dreadful shambles of the air traffic control system collapse. Yeah. We're now getting the excuses rolled out by the people that run the thing, right? Yeah. I heard one of them being interviewed, I think it was the chief exec being interviewed this morning, talking about how it's very complicated and, you know, it was a piece of data that the machines did not understand. It's very expensive to upgrade those machines, and the good thing about them is that they're so old that they can't be hacked. And you go, well, so is that really the best you can do? We've got such an old system that it falls over when it gets given a piece of information it doesn't understand. They didn't quite go as far as to say it was the French that had filed it, but the other criticism of them is that they only apparently file flight plans 4 hours in advance. So instead of having them in advance of, say, the entire day, they're constantly updating it, constantly, all day. Of
course it was the French. It's always the French.
Yeah, it
definitely definitely the French, no doubt about that.
But it doesn't matter if it was the French. In the end, the system is at fault, and the system isn't any good. And I worry now that it's going to happen more and more.
I think it does matter it's the French, because it's always satisfying to blame the French for any catastrophe. But as you quite rightly said, it might not be them, but I think it is. 200 Brits still stranded all over the world because of this Uber mess.
Yes.
And when you get an organisation, NATS, the Air Traffic Control System, the national, every time there's a massive cock-up by some organisation, go to the top and you'll find some chief executive on massive money who's just received a performance-related bonus, and sure enough, NATS, it's run by a guy called Martin Rolfe, who earns something like £450,000.
He's not far off £500,000 a year.
But he's just got a big bonus, and last year earned £1.3 million for the year. Every time, like you know, Coots Bank, NatWest, go to the top. Dame Alison Rose, £5 million a year, £2.4 million payoff. Nothing succeeds in this country if you're a chief executive more than failure.
This is what Sarah Vine says in her column in the Daily Mail. Quite simply, basket case Britain is starting to feel like a third world country where nothing works, and it's because too few seem to want to put the effort in anymore. And she says, and she's absolutely right to say this, no one cares, no one can be bothered, and everyone has an excuse for why it's not their responsibility. And that's exactly right. When things don't work, people just shrug their shoulders and go, like, there's no train. I mean, we'll talk about that later on. There's no plane. There's no car. The thing you booked hasn't come. You know, the holiday that you thought you had, you don't have. And none of these people in the NATS organisation are paying any kind of compensation to either the airlines or to the people who have been displaced.
About this putting the wrong flight plan in, which does seem to be the cause of the problem. Someone somewhere put a wrong flight plan in, and it kind of screwed the whole system. They say it might have been the French, but that's what happened. Now, I heard an interview this morning where the interviewer, the journalist, said, well, shouldn't there be some sort of security around this? Surely that can't be allowed to happen anymore. We must have a system whereby a wrong flight plan doesn't trigger the whole system. And I think it was this guy, Martin Rolfe, said, oh, well, it's not as simple as that. No. I think it is.
Well, no,
it is as simple as that.
He basically justified his existence by saying, actually, it's wrong to say that the whole system broke down, because only one small bit of it broke down. Lots of bits of it were OK. And you go, well, it's not really the point. The point is it broke down to all intents and purposes to the layman who can't get on a plane from Lanzarote or from, you know, the Canary Islands. Obviously, there's a problem.
That's like us at TalkTV going off air due to some technical glitch for 24 hours and then coming back and saying, on the plus side, the door's still open.
Yeah, the door's open.
So the door to the studio was working fine.
Absolutely right.
Just ridiculous.